So today we have a 2000 Buick, let's see, what is it, Lesabre, Century, Lesabre. Buick Lesabre here today, and it's got some kind of network issue going on in here. I'm going to shut the door so we don't have to listen to this chime. Let's see what happens when we start this vehicle. Bulb check. Then shortly after it started, about 10 seconds after it started, the radio will shut off. Security light will come on. Fuel gauge will go to empty. Airbag warning light comes on. Check tire pressure message comes up. And I'm not sure if the speedo's dead. I see the tach is still working. Let's try this again. ABS light is off. Airbag light's going through the self-check, went off. Fuel gauge is working now. Radio was playing. The radio just shut off. There goes the fuel gauge. There's the service vehicle soon light. There's the airbag light. There's the security light. So there's definitely a network issue. Something's affecting the serial data network. I wonder if it just does it with the key on.
How I've lived till now.
So you can hear the radio playing.
I tell them I don't know.
Auto load leveler pump just kicked in. The fuel gauge hasn't acted up yet. Seems to only do it if it's running. I wonder if it has a diode issue in the alternator. Because the only difference between now and running is higher voltage from the alternator. It's definitely been a longer, more than 2 seconds. Of course the key is on, so the service engine soon light would be on and the volt light would be on. Security light shouldn't be on though. The radio's still playing. There it goes. Radio shuts off. Fuel gauge goes to empty. Warning lights come on. Let's have a look at the alternator output and the alternator waveform, or maybe disable the alternator and see if that fixes the problem. So there's the alternator waveform. It is quite aggressive. In other words, it's quite a bit. That's on a 2-volt scale. If I put it on the 500 millivolt scale, the preset for that, but the battery is under the back seat. Now I see somebody has actually cleaned the grounds and cleaned the positive cable here. I think the easiest thing to do is disable the alternator by unplugging the connector back there and then restarting it. So we're going to do that. See if the charging system has anything to do with this serial data failure. Okay, so we're going to start it up. Let's close the darn door so we don't have to listen to the chime. Start it up and watch the gauges now with no alternator. Radio's playing. Well, radio's still playing, fuel gauge is still working, security light's still on, but check charge system. Yeah, I guess so. I unplugged the control wires on the voltage regulator, so it's not charging now. And that's why the volt light is on. Let's reconnect it and see that it comes back again. So the alternator is reconnected. We'll start it up and see what it does. Radio's playing. Security light just came back on. There goes the fuel gauge, there goes the radio. So is it the alternator that's causing the problem, or is it the fact that we have higher voltage? See, the PRNDL doesn't work either with this network issue. So is it the fact that the voltage is higher that's causing it? I'm going to disable the alternator and put a clean charger on it and see what that does. So I've got the alternator disabled, and I've got a clean battery charger connected and set at 14.2 volts. Let's see what happens now after. Radio's still playing. That's the charge indicator. Even though it's charging now, well, not charging, but the battery charger is keeping it up. But the network is not acting up with the alternator not running. But that doesn't prove that the alternator is the problem, in my opinion. I'm going to have a look at the network wiring, or the network voltage signal serial data wire with the lab scope. So there's the serial data signal with the engine running and the problem not present. I got the alternator disabled. It's a 7-volt pulse. I am picking that up with a breakout box on pin 2 and using pin 4, which is connected to chassis ground. And it looks textbook perfect, and the problem's not present right now with the alternator disabled. So I'm going to plug the alternator back up and see what this signal looks like. So let's have a look at this serial data with the alternator charging. The radio's still playing. There it goes. So is there a bad ground to one of the modules and it's taken down the serial data? Look at the ground plane here. I think we should check voltage drops on the battery grounds. The whole ground potential is shifted. The radio's playing again, but it cuts in and out. Shut the key off again. Yeah, see, the ground comes back to normal as soon as the key's off. I'm not sure it's a module that's taken down the bus. I wonder if it's a body ground or something. So that's the voltage from the alternator measured at the battery. I've got long jumper leads running all the way to the back, reading the voltage right at the battery. And it seems to be charging okay, and it looks fairly clean at the battery. 14.4. We're going to check the voltage drop between the alternator output wire and the battery, as well as the ground on the engine block. Maybe there's no ground or full ground on the engine, although it seems to crank okay. Something's going on here. It's probably going to be simple once we figure it out. So that's the voltage drop on the output wire of the alternator, from the alternator output positive post to the positive battery post at the back. It's 0.3. check the ground by moving this to the alternator ground and moving this wire over to here, and the ground is 0.1. Back to the battery. Wonder if we should check the ground on the body relative to the battery. Yeah, let's do that. There's the ground, body ground to battery negative post, and I checked body ground to engine ground, and they're all very low. 0.02 for that one. Let's check the engine ground. 0.05, and it's running and charging, so I got a feeling it's got something to do with the ground, but it could be just coincidental that when there's higher voltage to the module in question, it fails. So we're going to have a look at the serial data network and see if there's a splice pack we can access to disassemble one at a time. Well, given the vintage of this vehicle, it won't let me do a network scan, but I'm sure when I do a scan here, it's going to tell me that there are codes related to loss of communication, TCC performance, loss of ABS serial data, TCC performance. Now the ABS module, I understand, has been replaced with a used one. Anti-theft, fuel enabled. This keeps well, I generated that P0620 code. It's got some transmission issues too, but that's minor. Okay, let's go back and have a look at ABS and see if there's this vehicle did support network scanning. Snap-on, you just didn't pay enough money to have it. No codes in the ABS. That's interesting. Now you would think it would be flagging codes against the network if there was a problem. Let's try history codes. Class 2 data, high or low voltage, high low voltage, loss communication. Okay, so it's got some history fault codes as well. Loss of BCM, vehicle theft deterrent, driver information module. I don't know what PZM is. Alright, well, we're going to look at this network. So here's the Mitchell version of the serial data wire. Leaves pin 2 at the DLC right there. Then we have to find out what UV6 is. I think UV6 is head-up display. It doesn't have that. Without UV6, and it goes to the dash integration module behind right side of dash, inflatable restraint module. Out of that, I don't think it has a compact disc player, so it would be this way. Rear integration module behind left upper rear seat cushion. Out of that module to the remote function actuator module, and memory seats. It doesn't have memory seats, so it would go into that and out this and into the electronic brake control module. Out of that module to the powertrain control module, driver's door module. Come on, highlight. Vehicle theft deterrent module. In and out of that. HVAC module without C67. To radio. Out of that. So there doesn't appear to be a splice pack in here, an instrument cluster. Yeah. I was hoping it'd go to a splice pack and I could just find that splice pack and systematically disconnect one module from the next. Well, I've had airbag modules on GM products cause weird anomalies like this, take down the network. Oh boy, could be any one of these modules taking down that network. Now I looked at, let's save this, bookmark it. I did look at the OEM version of the schematic. I'll bring that up. So this is OEM version of this serial data wire. This A in the center here comes from pin 2 at the DLC, and then it goes to all the various modules. I'm trying to see if there's a connector I can find, like this one here, C216, that would allow me to disable a few of the modules, like split the system in half. C302 might be an option. Where's the airbag module? Inflatable restraint and sensing and diagnostic module. Well, 201. If I disconnected 201, find that wire and depin that wire, that would take the dash integration module, the inflatable restraint module, doesn't have the disc player, but it would take all of these modules out, including, by the looks of it, the PCM, unless this goes the other way too. Yes, it does. It goes around this way too. It's like a ring star concept. It's going to drive me to drink, I think, this one. So the airbag module is under the passenger front seat. Now, I did have in the past several GM vehicles where the airbag module would take down the serial data network. There is no one connector I can unplug, or a splice pack in this system where I can disassemble it and depin wires, take modules off the network. So I'm going to find, or I'm going to access the airbag module by removing the passenger front seat, and we're going to disconnect that. So it turns out there are several types of, or several versions of the airbag system. It removed the passenger front seat and it's not there. It's not under the seat. So I went to look for the RPO code list, which would normally be on the underside of the trunk lid, and it's not there. Looks like the trunk lid may have been replaced at some point. It's also not on the spare tire cover nor in the glove box. So this particular one shows the airbag module on the hump between the seats. That's AM6. AG1, AG2 shows it in the same place, yet in that component locator it showed it under the passenger seat. So the one diagram showed it under the passenger seat right here, but it's not there. It's actually up underneath the seat. It's right in here. So I was about to, I tried lifting the carpet up to get at it, and I can't get it up enough to get in there, to reach in there. And maybe if I knew exactly how the Houdini clips were designed on the back of the module. So then I go over to the passenger or driver's side, figuring I'll unbolt the driver's front seat. And those T50 bolts don't want to come out of the seat. Yeah. Let's think about this for a minute. Maybe there's another approach. So I elected to cut the carpet. Cut it from this factory opening here forward and then slightly upwards. And there you can see the airbag module. I've got the connector unplugged. There's a secondary lock, and then you just slide it out. So now we're going to start it up and with everything else connected and see if the problem is still present. Okay, so I'm going to start it up with the airbag module disconnected. Radio's still playing. Of course, the airbag light is on because there's loss of communication. And there's probably a shorting bar in the airbag connector that shorts the airbag warning light control circuit to ground just to turn it on completely. Well, that's like 10 seconds already. The radio's still playing. Still playing. I think we're going to set the lab scope up to look at the network and plug it in again. Now, there could be a ground problem on the module or a power problem to the module that's causing it to malfunction. But as I said, I have had this issue or a similar issue on a Tahoe. I have a video already from like 4 years ago. Drove me crazy. It wasn't as consistent as this one. It would only do it when it was minus 30 outside. Well, that's more than a lot more time than it took to act up before. Let's plug the module back in and see if the problem returns. So I thought I'd look at this before I plugged in the module and see, and I noticed still an anomaly. At first it's fine. Now it's not going to act up. There it goes. There it goes. And you see the ground voltage potential slowly climbing. Yet it's not acting up anymore with the airbag module removed from the network. It's not acting up. But I'm not convinced. Look at the ground now. Let me pause this recording here. So where cursor number 1 is, it's sitting at 1.8 volts. It should be 0. And 7.23 volts on the top end. It's a 7 volt square wave, the serial data wire, but it should be 0. Let's click run again. See, the voltage is actually shifted up, but whatever is affecting this, it's not acting up now. At least it's not affecting the instrument cluster, even though the voltage is not right. So I don't know exactly what to do here. I hate like hell to call a $400 or $500 airbag module and put it in and have the same problem. And I'm not completely sure that I can put a used one in without creating other issues. But that's definitely something still going on there with that, compared to when the key is on. It's picture perfect. This vehicle does have memory seats as well, and heated seats. Seems like about 10 seconds and then the ground voltage starts shifting up. I don't think there's a short to voltage in the serial data wire because, well, I don't know. Seems to be a module taking it down. Oh joy. Well, it's been running now for a couple minutes with the airbag module reconnected, although the serial data signal is definitely compromised occasionally. It's not acting up now, but the voltage potential is high on this ground plane here. Now there are a couple of grounds under that seat. Maybe we're going to clean those grounds and see if that makes any difference. Can't hurt. We're this far in now. So here are the two grounds I was talking about. I did kind of move this one ground. I didn't touch this one over here. Let's see if the signal changes when I wiggle the grounds. Doesn't seem to, not with that one anyways. Well, and now it's not acting up. All I did was unplug the airbag module and plug it back in. Well, it's not acting up, but the ground potential on the serial data wire is almost 1.2 volts. .8 volts. I'm going to clean these grounds anyways. So I took that ground apart and it doesn't look bad. It's got like a splice pack in there. That's what I was hoping they would have, something like this for the network, so I could de-pin wires from computers one at a time, but no such luck. So I'm going to clean this up and put it back together again. So that's after cleaning the grounds. It didn't make any difference. But the strange thing is now, even though the signal looks like it's actually shifted to the point where it's almost not catching the trigger now. Oops. Something is pulling the ground up on that serial data. We're going to have to try another approach here. And now it's not doing it, and the airbag module is plugged in. The radio is still playing, instrumentation is still working. But you can see that the serial data signal is not right. You get a sawtooth pattern every once in a while, and the voltage on the ground is... But it seems to be influenced by the charging system, because if I turn the key off, instantly it drops back down. Wonder what happens if I disable the alternator while it's running. Gonna try that. Well, with the alternator disabled, the serial data signal looks perfect. Let's have another look at that alternator. So here's the alternator waveform at the battery with it running and charging. And I see that somebody's already cleaned this ground cable. I've checked the voltage drops between the engine and the ground, between the negative post back here and ground, between the body and the engine. And now the radio's playing continuously and it's not acting up, but I'm sure it's not a case of the cycling the connector at the airbag module. But now what do we do? It's not acting up now. So I went on the Comp 9 VIN decoder, and I paid the $5 for one-time fee, and it gives you 5 VIN decodes. There's the VIN of the vehicle, and here's a list of all the options. So that allows me to identify what options the vehicle is equipped with. Now, I said earlier it didn't have UV6, which was heads-up display, but you know what? It does. And it also has memory seats. This is a fairly well-equipped vehicle in its day. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 computers in this vehicle. This thing has UV6 heads-up display. It also has A45 memory seat and CJ2 HVAC system, air conditioning, front auto temperature, auxiliary temperature for the front seat. So it's like a dual zone, but not C60 or C67. So I've highlighted the circuits in the schematic, and I'm going to highlight the OEM schematic so I know which ones I'm working with. Well, after cleaning those grounds that I couldn't see anything wrong with, and the vehicle running and everything plugged in, it's significantly better. If I pause this, Voltage potential on that ground now is 0.6, which is still a little high, or the voltage potential on the ground plane of the serial data is 0.6. But as you can hear, the radio is playing fine and the car is actually running okay and it's not acting up anymore. I don't like that sawtooth pattern in there once in a while. I'm going to put it back together again and see how it works. Well, it's back. Cleared all the codes out of all the controllers, put air in the right rear tire that was low all the time it was running. Now the weird thing is I got service stability system, traction control off, security light, but the fuel gauge is still working. Radio dead, and that's what the serial data circuit looks like right now. And I can guarantee if I shut it off and restarted it again, it'll be fine. Look, as soon as I turn the key off, it goes.
On the grow and looking for new members.
It was fine until I put it in reverse to back up.
With local owners and energetic team members who really believe
I've reinstalled the seat and all the trim.
We need customer service people, cashiers, and a
Don't you just love intermittent problems? Look at the ground voltage potential rising again.
All applicants will be contacted. Memorial Home Hardware.